lovelies, it is time for my top 10 books of 2024, so stay tuned. So, in 2024, I literally only had 20 5-star books, so it wasn't too hard to narrow it down to 10, because one, I'm not including any sequels from series that I've already read and probably had in my top previously, or rereads that I read. So that took out quite a few, because like I ended up finishing the Scythe series by Neil Shusterman and a couple other series, and those were 5-star books for me. But if it's the first book in a series, then I will include that. And the way I'm going to do this top 10 is not in any like countdown order. It's the order is literally in the order in which I read these books, and for each book I'm going to cut to the wrap up where I talk about that book. Okay, so number 1 on my list is Gilded by Marissa Meyer. It's such an interesting take on the story of Rumpelstiltskin, and I'm very excited to read the next one, which is Cursed. So our main character, Cyrilda, she's a miller's daughter. She was born God blessed. The miller, he like saved this god, and it was the god of storytelling, or the wheels of fortune, or whatever. And the god asked, what can I give you in return? And he couldn't really think of anything. He was like, well, there is this maiden in the village that I'm in love with, and I would like to get married and have a strong and healthy child with her. And that's what happened. And in comes Cyrilda. And Cyrilda is quite the little storyteller herself. She likes to spin tall tales, and it occasionally gets her in trouble, and people have a hard time believing a lot of the things she says, because her stories are always so fanciful. But then one day she draws the attention of the Errol King, and in spinning her tales, she tells him that she's God blessed, but not of storytelling, but of being able to spin straw into gold. And he wants to use her ability. And while he has her captured and waiting for her to try to spin all of this straw into gold, this boy appears, and he's able to help her for a price. And yeah, it's fantastic, and I cannot wait to read more of it. And I give it 5 stars. Yay. Number 2 on my list was Book Lovers by Emily Henry. It follows our main character, Nora, who she is a literary agent, and she's kind of known as being the shark, but she has been on the wrong side of small town romance tropes. She's the girl that gets dumped for the small town girl. Her boyfriends have gone to some small town, and sorry, the dogs are bumping the tripod. Anyway, they've gone to some small town and trying to help shut some business down, ends up falling for the girl, saves the business, yada, yada, yada. She gets dumped. And this has happened multiple times in her life. And at this point in time, not only, it sucks, but at this point in time, it's almost just a joke to her. And romance is just stupid. And after her most recent breakup like this, her sister convinces her to go on vacation with her pregnant sister. And she takes them to Sunshine Falls, North Carolina, which is like the setting for one of Nora's clients' books. And then we have the editor, Charlie, who turned down one of Nora's clients' books because he's like, yeah, she has never been to Sunshine Falls. It is not how she describes it in her books. Anyway, when Nora and her sister arrive in Sunshine Falls, well, turns out Charlie is there, so he knows good and well what Sunshine Falls is like. And they clash. It's very much a hate to love type thing, and it's so good. I freaking loved it, and I give it 5 stars. Number 3 on my list is the only classic on this list, and that is Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery. That was so sweet and so precious. It's about a little orphan girl named Anne who kind of gets accidentally adopted. So this older couple, they're like 60, in their 60s, and they decided that they want to adopt a 10 or 11-year-old boy so that he can, as the husband is getting older and it's getting harder for him to do some of the farm work, he can have a son to help. And they want one that's 10 or 11 so he can jump right into it. And a friend of theirs, she is going to this orphanage in Nova Scotia. This whole thing sets place in Canada. Anyway, so her friend's going to Nova Scotia to pick herself up a daughter. She wants a little girl. And they ask her, hey, while you're there, can you get us a boy 10 to 11 years old? And somehow there's some confusion. And when they go to pick up their new boy from the train station, it's not a boy, it's Anne. And Anne is quite the character. She's so sweet and such a little chatterbox, and it was actually quite fun to listen to. And though they're both, expecting a boy, wanting a boy, not wanting a girl at all, and considering sending her back, she very quickly worms her way into their heart, and they can't part with her. And the story is just her over the next few years growing up and learning and making mistakes and learning from those mistakes. And it's all just so freaking precious, and I loved it, and I'm going to give it 5 stars. Number 4 on this list is my only middle grade, unless you also count Anne of Green Gables as middle grade, but that was Blended by Sharon M. Draper. It had me sobbing. Even the author's acknowledgments, thanks at the end, had me sobbing. So this is about a girl. She's 11 years old. She's dealing with her mom is white, her dad is black, and she's just like, where do I fit? And then she's having to deal with her parents getting divorced, and then eventually her parents being with other people, starting families with these other people, getting married, all of this stuff, and the going back and forth between the two parents and the tensions between the parents and all of that. And there's also a lot of racial issues addressed in here, and it was fantastic, and I give it 5 stars. Number 5 on my list was Dry by Neil and Jared Schusterman. And I would recommend to anybody else that reads this or listens to this to have something to drink on hand, because it's going to make you thirsty. You're going to feel parched reading this book, because it's about, it's set in Southern California, and the reservoirs have run dry. Rivers have been cut off from California. They're in this major drought. The government has now turned the taps off on the residents, and people start, they kind of turn into water zombies, and they are desperate for any kind of water and will do anything to get it. And people are dying all over the place because of dehydration or just the fact that people get insane. And it's really just about these kids trying to survive this. And it was something. It was wow, what people would do. It was definitely a modern day apocalypse that could actually happen. 5 stars. Number 6 on my list is actually my only horror on the list, and that is Hidden Pictures by Jason Rukulak. This book is so good. So good. So in this, our main character, she is early 20s, college age, but she hasn't gone to college because of a drug problem. She's been in rehab for the past 18 months, getting clean, and now she's wanting to take the next step in her life, and she gets a job as a nanny caring for this little boy named Teddy, and his parents have some kind of strict rules about certain things, but nothing too unreasonable. And Mallory, the nanny, she lives in this cute little cabin or cottage or whatever you want to call it in the backyard. But weird things start to happen, and Mallory thinks maybe this place is haunted. And then Teddy is drawing these pictures that get more and more detailed and disturbing, and she thinks maybe Teddy is possessed. And it was so good. So freaking good. And I was reading this during a 24 and 48, which I'm still currently in a 24 and 48 with my coffee patrons, and I'm live for the whole time, and so I got to see my reactions as I was reading it. There was a lot of jaw-dropping moments, and yeah, this book blew me away, and there was so much I did not see coming. 5 stars. Number 7 on my list was Love at First Book by Jen McKinley. It was so good. So first off, it's set in Ireland, and our main character, she's trying to get away from her very manipulative, mean mother, and have an adventure and get to experience something new and go somewhere new. And she has been working as a librarian, and now she has the opportunity to assist an author that has been had a huge impact on her life, and so she's getting to work with this author part-time, and then also work in this bookstore part-time, and she's getting to stay in this cute little cottage. And it just so happens the owner of the bookstore is the son of this author, and they clash right off the bat. But it ends up being a super cute hate to love romance. But there's some big issues in here that I can't really say without spoiling it, but there's some sad things. And I will say, little side note story time. So I was listening to this in my car while I was out doing DoorDash, and there's this part in the book that had me sobbing, ugly cry, just sobbing in my car. And I had somebody's food, and I was on my way to deliver their food, and I'm like, okay, I gotta calm myself down. I'm trying to, focusing on breathing and just trying to stop the tears, and I'm focused on that and not my speed, and I got pulled over, and I got a speeding ticket. And the cop, I don't think he noticed that I had been crying when he first took my driver's license and everything. But when he came back with my ticket, I was still my eyes are all red. I'm still doing all the sniffling and stuff. And he thought I was all upset about the ticket. I was like, no, it's not that. But yeah, this book had me just uncontrollably crying, and to the point that I got a speeding ticket. So I don't recommend listening to this while driving, okay? But it was fantastic, super cute, but also super emotional. You're gonna get so invested in these characters, and yeah, you're just gonna love them all. And I gave it 5 stars. Number 8 on my list is Tangled Up in You by Christina Lauren. This book I freaking loved, and I give it 5 stars. It is a Rapunzel retelling, where our main character, she has spent her entire life, she's now 22 years old, she has spent her entire life that she can remember growing up on this homestead. She never went to a regular school. She pretty much taught herself everything. Her parents have taught her, and she takes care of the farm animals and all of this stuff. And for years, she's wanted to go to college. Like, that's been her big dream, is to go to college. And her parents finally agree to let her go, but they have some very strict rules. And, well, she tries to stick to these rules, but it doesn't take long before she starts breaking little rules at a time until something happens, and she now goes with this boy, Fitz, on a cross-country road trip. And it was so good. I loved it so much. And I have to give that one 5 stars. Number 9 on my list is When in Rome by Sarah Adams. This is such a cute, grumpy sunshine romance. So our main character, Amelia, she is a pop sensation pretty much. And I kind of envisioned her like Taylor Swift, but looked like Megan Fox because of the hair color and stuff. But she is exhausted and she needs a break before she goes on this 9-month tour. And whenever she's struggling with anything, she turns to Audrey Hepburn movies. And so she randomly picks one night, and it's Roman Holiday. And so she decides she's going on a Roman holiday right then and there. And though Rome, Italy is too far to go right then, so she goes to Rome, Kentucky instead. And her car breaks down like as she enters Rome, and it just so happens that she ends up in Noah's yard. And Noah is the local grumpy pie shop owner, and super cute, and an absolute marshmallow, and we love him. And he's had things in the past that make him not want to be involved with anybody, has trust issues, all of that. And they can't help it, but they have instant chemistry with each other, but they're fighting it the whole time. And this was so fun. If you like small town vibes and like really cute banter, you'll like this. I gave this 5 stars. Also, my cheeks hurt while I was listening to this driving around because I was grinning so much. And yeah, it's fantastic. And number 10 on my list is A Novel Love Story by Ashley Poston. This book had me sitting outside in my little egg chair thing, sobbing. And Marty came and to wave like through the window at me. And I'm like... He's like, what's wrong? And I was like, my book is making me cry. It was so good, though. And it broke my heart, and it was also so sweet and just, So, our main character, Elsie, she is kind of stuck in this stasis of her life where she found a guy that she fell in love with, and she wanted everything he wanted, and she wanted them to have this happy life together. They dated for years. They were engaged. They were planning their wedding. And a week before the wedding, he calls it off. And apparently he's been seeing somebody else. And less than a year later, he's married to the person he was cheating on her with. And she ended up having to be the one that had to call everybody and tell them the wedding was off and try to get money back from venues and things like that. And she still has her wedding dress. She still has her shoes in the box, save the date, all of that stuff. And hasn't dated or anything since. She feels like the only real love stories are those that are the fictional love stories. They can only be that way in the books. And she has this set of books that are like her favorite books. Her and her best friend, Prue, who have been best friends since like the Sandbox, essentially. They both love romance books. Oh, also, Elsie is like an English professor. And so she's having to like read and talk about and listen to things about like the stuffy authors and all that. But she loves a good smutty rom-com or whatever. And her and her best friend Prue have this book club with some other people, and once a year they go to this cabin for like a meet up, and it's like a yearly thing that they do. And it started before virtually. It started virtually, like doing Zoom calls and stuff with this book club back while she was still with Liam. But after the breakup and everything, and Prue is just trying to really help Elsie get out of this funk that she was in, they decided they were going to do this cabin thing in like upstate New York. And it became this ritual that was super meaningful and got to take her mind off of everything, get away from the job, and just get away from everything and read some fun, like romantic books. But this year, life has happened, and all the other members of the book club are not going to be able to be there. And Prue is unexpectedly flying to Iceland with her boyfriend. They're like sure that he's going to be proposing. And so Elsie's the only one, and she really wants to go. So she's like bound and determined, I'm going to go by myself. Doesn't matter. I'm going to have fun. I'm going to read these smutty books. I'm going to drink all this wine, and it's going to be a great time, and I'm going to relax. But along the way, she finds herself lost for something. She's like, I don't know how I'm lost because I've done this so many times before. But she finds herself lost, and then she almost runs into a man in the rain and ends up messing up her car. So she's in this little town where she almost hit the man. And she doesn't realize it that night, but the next day, she very quickly begins to realize that set of books that I mentioned earlier that I kind of got sidetracked from, her favorite set of books, this author, it's her favorite author, and she got to meet this author, and all her books are signed and personalized by this author. And it's the first four books in this series. And before the author wrote the fifth book, she died. I'll just say that because I don't know if it'll be a spoiler. She died. And never finished the series. Anyway, so this small town, it turns out, is this town from the book. But it's not like the books weren't written about this town. This town literally is the books. It was created by these books. It's all it's a fictional town. So she's meeting these fictional characters and everything. And at first she's kind of like, oh crap, am I dead? This is heaven. And then it was like super exciting because she's like getting to live in her story and stuff. Her being in this town starts changing things, and there's the guy that she almost ran into. It's cute because he's like grumpy and also like sweet. She kind of has a little bit of a thing for him, but she's like, he's a fictional character, and I don't want to mess up his story. And her being there is starting to cause ripples in this world. And that's really all I can say. It's freaking fantastic. I give it 5 stars. I'm obsessed. I only have the audiobook of it, but I definitely need the physical book. Love this book. I actually had quite a few rom-coms on my list this year, which I think that was like the majority of my top 10 this year, which didn't really come as much of a surprise. But I was surprised by there not being more like retellings on there. I mean, there are 2 with Gilded and Tangled Up in You, but I honestly could not put these in any other order because I couldn't decide which books I liked more than the others. Like, I just couldn't. They were all fantastic reads. I highly recommend all of them. Have you read them? Have you not? Comment down below and let me know. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a big thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, click that subscribe button down below. And until next time, remember to always be completely you. Bye!